The Dershow.
This presidential race may be decided on the abortion issue. Yeah, the polls show it's only the third most important issue in the campaign, number one being the economy, number two being immigration, number three being abortion. But it is higher up in some places than in others, and it could easily influence some of the battleground states like Pennsylvania, like Arizona, like North Carolina, like Minnesota, like Michigan. It could easily, the gender gap is very, very distinct. Trump wins overwhelmingly particularly among white men who don't have a college education. Harris wins overwhelmingly among white women who do have a college education. And when you break it all down and also factor race in, just the mere fact of being a woman has a big impact on who you're going to vote for. And a lot of the women, particularly many of the suburban women who have traditionally been Republican, are saying, no, I can't vote for a candidate who basically caused the overruling of Roe versus Wade and put my daughter at risk and my niece at risk and my sister at risk and my friends' children at risk. Now, not too many people are actually at risk because you can still get an abortion very late in New York, California, and probably half the states. And if you have any resources, you can travel to those states. Now, there have been some states that have been trying to pass laws saying it'd be a crime to travel out of the state to a state that permits abortion. That would be struck down as unconstitutional in violation of the Commerce Clause. But there are people who can't afford to travel. And there are people who have medical issues, and some states don't have broad medical exemptions. Some states do. Trump says he's not against choice. He just wants to leave it to the states. Leave it to the states. Leave it to the states. I remember a conversation I had with him when he asked me at one point who I thought he should appoint to the Supreme Court. And I went over with him all the candidates, and I mentioned one that I thought said would leave it to the states, and another one who actually had suggested maybe that the Constitution protects the life of a fetus, and so a state could not permit abortion. And he said, no, I can't accept that. States, it has to be left to the states, the states. That's been in his position, and the only reason I'm prepared to publicly repeat a conversation I had with him is he said that 100 times. And so he would be very happy to have me repeat that conversation because it shows he's been consistent all the way through. The states, it should be up to the states. Well, whatever I think, whatever you think, there are going to be a lot of voters who don't agree and who think that the overruling of Roe versus Wade was a terrible, terrible thing for women, a terrible thing for America, and a terrible thing for civil liberties and human rights. And it was done by Republicans, and it was done by people who Trump supported and nominated to the Supreme Court. Wouldn't it be ironic if Trump was defeated based on the people he put on the Supreme Court who voted too broadly, broader than they had to, in favor of a complete overruling of Roe versus Wade? Wouldn't it be ironic if that was the result? Again, here I'm not taking sides. I'm being a constitutional law professor, and I'm analyzing the situation. I'm here to tell you that it may very well be the fact that the majority's failure in the Dobbs case to listen to the Chief Justice, remember it was a 5-4 decision originally on whether Roe versus Wade should be overruled, with the Chief Justice saying, no, we don't have to reach that. Let's just decide that the Mississippi statute is constitutional and a state does have the power to ban abortion after 15 weeks. If they had listened to that, then I'm not sure this election wouldn't turn out differently, or I can put it a little differently. What if Garland had been allowed to have his nomination go through? Remember, Garland was nominated originally while the Democrats were in control by a Democrat, but the Republican Senate leadership wouldn't let it come to a vote. If he had been on the Supreme Court, there might not have been enough votes, assuming that the Chief Justice Roberts would have stuck to his position, to overrule Roe versus Wade. So again, it may turn out the Republicans have shot themselves in the foot. It may turn out that the very acts that Republicans thought would help them win elections, namely not allowing Garland to be on the Supreme Court and overruling Roe versus Wade in a case where that issue wasn't presented. The issue on certiorari, then got changed later, but the issue on certiorari was solely whether the Mississippi statute 15 weeks would be upheld or not upheld as constitutional or unconstitutional. So what an irony. What an irony. I can just imagine. I don't know if Donald Trump knows this. If he loses and I get an opportunity to talk to him, I will surely tell him this and point out the irony that his very appointments to the Supreme Court and the help he got in making those appointments from the Republican leadership of the Senate that denied Garland the right to even have his case presented to the Senate. That's what cost you the election. You'd be president of the United States if the Supreme Court hadn't overruled Roe versus Wade. I would really love to see his face if he hears that. I wonder if he has been told that. I wonder if he's thought about it. It's not something that a non-lawyer would think about it, but hey, that's what I think about. Sorry, I go to sleep dreaming about Supreme Court decisions. I know that doesn't make for a restful sleep these days, but that's the reality. So when you go to sleep tonight, if you're a Republican and you're rooting for Trump and you're worried that he might lose, think about it. Think about whether the reason he may lose has to do with Republican appointees to the Supreme Court and Republican senators who didn't allow Garland to have their case, to have his nomination brought to a vote in the United States Senate. What irony.